Arcadia voters just greenlit a massive school facilities bond, Measure AS,
Yeah.
a whopping $358 million.
That's a lot of dough.
It passed with flying colors. Over 61% voted yes. That's well above the 55% they needed.
Pretty remarkable, huh? Especially considering what's happening elsewhere.
Exactly.
A lot of districts are struggling to get these kinds of bonds passed.
And you know what else is interesting?
What's that?
Arcadia is bucking another trend.
Oh.
They're seeing enrollment growth.
Right, when so many districts are dealing with declining student numbers.
So we're going to deep dive into this, try to understand what's going on in Arcadia,
Sounds good.
what makes them different, right?
Why are they able to make these kinds of investments in their schools when so many other districts are struggling just to keep the lights on?
Yeah, I think that 61% vote, that tells us something.
Right. It's not just a passing grade, it's a statement.
It is.
So you've been looking into this. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it points to a really strong commitment to education in Arcadia. You know, they've got high expectations for their schools.
Yeah, and that comes through
It does.
loud and clear in that vote.
And, you know, you can't ignore the economics of it.
Right.
Arcadia is a relatively affluent community, so they've got the resources to support these kinds of investment.
Now, this isn't to say that other communities don't value education.
No, not at all. It's just
Actually,
you have to acknowledge the reality
yeah, the reality of
school funding in California.
and the role of...
Right, local property taxes, they're crucial.
So for listeners who might not be familiar with that, can you give us a quick breakdown of how that all works?
Sure. So in California, schools rely heavily on property taxes.
Okay.
So when a community passes a bond measure like this one, it means homeowners are agreeing to,
A little bump.
yeah, basically a small increase in their property taxes.
Right, to fund.
Exactly, to fund those school improvements,
So it really is
like a collective
a
investment
community investment.
in the future.
Yeah. Of their schools and their kids.
And this isn't Arcadia's first rodeo, right?
Right.
They've passed other bonds in recent years.
They have Measure I and Measure A.
So I'm guessing that track record
Definitely played a role
plays a role in this.
in building that trust with voters.
Yeah, like, hey, we've seen what you can do with this money.
We trust you to use it wisely.
Right. You've proven yourselves before.
Exactly.
So let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Right.
How's this $358 million actually going to be spent?
Okay, so,
What were some of the key areas that stood out to you?
well, one thing that jumped out was
Yeah.
modernizing classrooms, integrating technology.
That's huge.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
How students learn today. It's completely different from even a few years ago.
Totally. Yeah.
And this bond, it seems to be really focused on addressing that shift.
Providing those
Exactly, the tools.
tools and resources that students need in this day and age.
Yeah, and another thing I found exciting was the emphasis on expanding STEM programs.
Oh, absolutely.
Equipping students with those skills, that's crucial.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Especially in our world today.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And this wasn't just, you know, a few people making decisions behind closed doors.
Right, it was a community effort.
There was a whole process. Right?
Yeah, the year-long facilities master plan process.
Tell me about that.
It was really impressive. They brought everyone to the table. Students, parents, teachers.
Wow.
Even local police and fire officials.
So they were thinking about, you know,
Yeah, the whole picture.
the safety and security of the schools, too.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic.
I think that level of community engagement, it's commendable.
Totally.
And it probably played a big part in the bond passing.
Yeah, people feel invested when they have a voice.
Exactly.
So, of course, with this much money,
Yeah,
there's always the question of oversight.
of course.
How is Arcadia ensuring that these funds
Yeah.
are going to be managed responsibly?
So they've got a citizens oversight committee, and this committee, it's independent of the school district,
Oh, good.
which adds that extra layer of accountability.
Right. They're not beholden to the same interests.
Exactly.
Right.
They'll be reviewing expenditures, making sure projects stay on track, and most importantly, reporting back to the community.
So everyone knows
Transparency is key.
what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it sounds like this bond measure is a huge win
It is.
for Arcadia schools.
Big time.
And it really shows how much this community values education.
And they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. They're not just talking the talk.
They're walking the walk.
What are your thoughts on the long-term impact of all this?
Well, it's really exciting to think about, you know. With these improvements, Arcadia schools could become even more attractive to families,
Yeah.
potentially driving further growth in the community. But it's not just about attracting new residents.
Right. It's about
It's about the kids who are already there.
Yeah, investing in them.
Exactly, giving them the tools they need
The best possible education.
to succeed in this rapidly changing world we live in.
That's what it's all about.
It really is, and it makes you wonder, how will these upgraded facilities, these expanded programs, how will they shape the educational experience for these students? And what kind of ripple effects will we see throughout the community in the years to come?
That's a great question.
Thanks.
And something for all of us to think about.
Yeah, I think so.
Not just in Arcadia, but
Right, everywhere.
in communities all over.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining me today.
It was my pleasure.
And thanks to all of you for listening.
See